Okay, thank you everybody for coming. We're going to start with the Holyoke Auxiliary Police Color Guard presenting colors. Thank you. My name is Rory Casey. I am the Mayor's Chief of Staff. Unfortunately, Mayor Morse is out of town today. He sends his warm regards. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd also like just to point out and give special thanks to a few folks. City Councilor Pete Tallman is here with us today. I see City Council President Todd McGee. Thank you. We have representation from Senator Don Hummison's office. But I'd also especially like to thank all of the folks from the Holyoke Soldiers Home who are joining us here today, and most especially all of our active duty military personnel, along with veterans who have served. I'd like to start off with a small note, which is when we talk about all the different campaigns that have happened, there was a glaring omission. So I would like to apologize on behalf of the city. We especially want to thank those veterans who served in the Vietnam conflict for being here with us. As it's an old Irish saying, it was certainly an absence of the mind and not of the heart. So thank you very much for being here with us today. What I'd like to do right now is I would like to bring up Alicia Zoller, who's the administrator of the Office of Community Development, to talk a little bit about the history. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. There was something else not in the program that's even more important than the history of this monument. I'd like to bring up Lexi Anamasis, who's going to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Lexi. And with that, I would like to bring up Alicia Zoller, the administrator of the Office of Community Development. It was through that office that the grant that funded this wonderful monument was procured. So Alicia's going to come up and give us a little bit of the history of the three gentlemen that we are honoring here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Fortunately, we have a beautiful afternoon for this. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you, Rory, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alicia Zoller. I'm the administrator for the City of Holyoke Office for Community Development. The Medal of Honor Memorial was made possible today by an allocation of $9,500 from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, its Community Development Block Grant Program, as well as a $7,500 grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Preservation Grant for Veterans Collections, Sites, and Memorials. Each year, the city receives approximately $1.5 million in CDBG funds that we use for improvements to parks, housing, social services, economic development, and public infrastructure projects. This is actually one of the first times in the last 30 years that public funds have been used to dedicate a Veterans Memorial. So we're very proud of being able to do this today. Thank you. Allocations of these funds is a multi-tiered process. You can read that as bureaucratic, but final decisions are made by the mayor, and Mayor Morris felt that it was long overdue to honor these recipients. Often project ideas come from residents in the community. Although this is a small, seemingly simple project, there were many different hands involved to bring it to fruition. The black granite monument was fabricated and etched by Holyoke of Ludlow. Installation was completed in-house by our Department of Public Works, and I think you'll all agree they did a fantastic job. Design and procurement were managed by Jennifer Martins of the Office for Community Development, and the financial piece of it and the grants were managed by Zida Hoyt of the Office for Community Development. I just want to call out Jennifer Martins on this project because this was one of the first times that my office ever fully took a project and managed it from start to finish. And none of the three of us knew anything about designing memorials or picking out materials. Along with some other folks that I'll mention, they pulled it off beautifully. Thanks to the Parks Commission and the Historic Commission for their assistance in the placement of the memorial. They certainly chose a beautiful location. But today's dedication of the Medal of Honor Memorial is a testament to the efforts of actually two thoughtful, committed Holyoke residents who saw a need to honor three brave Holyoke veterans. Jim Bronson, where's Jim? In partnership with Olivia Moselle, worked with the Parks Department and the Office for Community Development to bring this project to fruition. Jim's tireless efforts to honor war heroes and to ensure that their lives of service are never forgotten is a deeply personal mission for him. His drive stems from his own genealogical research of his father's honorable military service in World War I. In describing Jim's efforts to add names to the Military Hall of Honor, he was quoted in 2012 as saying, "It's our duty to remember who they were. These are real things these people did. It's not all hero movies." Jim and Olivia, I hope that this Medal of Honor monument makes you proud. While you may not have changed the world, you did change our city. Generations of Veterans Park visitors will forever know Holyoke's contributions to this country's military history as a result of your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And with that, I would like to invite up Adjutant General Gary W. Keefe to provide some words.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I also want to thank both Jim and Olivia for letting me be part of this today. This is a great event, and I am truly honored to be here. I'm a Western Mass guy. Grew up just up in Northampton, and anytime I can stay in Western Mass and be part of something like this, it's just a great event for me. I certainly want to welcome the members of the Beaudoin, the Muller, and the Mackenzie family here today as well, as we honor your relatives and their sacrifice. I really enjoyed. Jim sent me the history on these three individuals, and it really is. It's a story of America when you read about these three individuals, two different wars. So, beginning World War I, the Great War, which we honor 100 years this year, marks the centennial of our nation's involvement in the Great War, the war to end all wars. And on that day, Chief Boatswain's mate Mackenzie and his ship in a storm-tossed sea had come under attack by a German U-boat. We call them submarines today. Back then they were called U-boats. And at that time the depth charge came loose, and this guy put his body over the depth charge of this vessel. And when you hear vessel, if you didn't know, this was actually a yacht that was bought by the Navy to serve as a patrol boat. So it's not a big vessel at all. It was a small vessel in a storm-tossed sea under attack. And this individual lays his body over this depth charge in order to secure it and save his entire crew and complete the mission. He comes home, lives a great life, and makes a name and a history for himself and his family here in the great city of Holyoke. Then you flash forward to World War II. And you've got two individuals, Ray Beaudoin, who became Lieutenant Beaudoin on a battlefield commission when the entire officer leadership of his unit was wiped out. He was identified as a leader and was promoted to lieutenant during the war and during the battle. And Sergeant Joe Muller, two individuals about 10 years apart in age who grew up in the same neighborhood, same street, South Summer Street, here in Holyoke. I mean, what are the odds of that? A guy named Muller, a guy named Beaudoin, a guy named Mackenzie. I mean, what a great story of America. You've got three individuals, two different wars, that all received the nation's highest military honor for valor in combat, the Medal of Honor. Three individuals, probably first and second generation immigrants to this great country of ours, that came here to find their piece of the American dream. And without even giving it a second thought, in two different wars, answered the call to duty to leave our shores and head back over to Europe. Chief Mackenzie serving in World War I, Lieutenant Beaudoin serving in World War II in Europe, fighting the Nazis and the German war machine, and Sergeant Muller serving in the Pacific in Okinawa. Both Beaudoin and Mackenzie did not come home. They made the ultimate sacrifice. So what's important about this monument here today in this beautiful park is that generations will learn about these individuals and really what they stood for. And they stand for everything that's great in America. I think it's important that everyone, all the citizens, not just the Holyoke, but in this nation of ours, understand that without men and women today, like Chief Mackenzie, Lieutenant Beaudoin, Sergeant Muller, this nation would not be the beacon of freedom and hope that it is for the world to follow. It's a sacrifice made by these individuals. And even today, when less than 1% of this country serves in the military, less than 1% now, but we're still an all-volunteer force. It's nice to know that we still have young men and young women in this generation that does take a lot of raps. I think we're on Generation Z now, maybe. Is that what we're calling them? We went from Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. Then there was, they had the millennials, and I think the 80s are the I generation. But I will tell you, this generation is stepping up, and they are serving. So I want you all to kind of understand and rest easy that, you know what, it's nice to know that we still have young men and young women today that do have that steel in their backbone to raise their right hand and defend the Constitution of this great country of ours. And they will go wherever and whenever they are needed to make sure that our nation remains, as I said, that beacon of hope, that beacon of liberty that the rest of the world looks upon for when they're in trouble and they're looking for us to lead. So thank you for letting me be part of this today. Thank you for letting me learn about these three great individuals. And as I spend my time here in Holyoke, and I do spend my time here in Holyoke, I was telling folks, I do own a house here in Holyoke that my wife and I on Sargent Street, we bought. It's a two-family, and we started looking at this big old attic and this big old house. And we're looking at renovating that and getting out of Northampton and moving to Holyoke. And our kids are gone. Hopefully they won't be coming back anytime soon. But we're actually looking at turning that into an apartment. And because I cannot get enough of Nick's Nest hot dogs. But all joking aside, to the families, you must be just so incredibly proud of these three individuals, because I know the sons and daughter of Holyoke are, and they will continue to honor them for many, many generations to come when folks are walking through this beautiful park and they read those 3 names there. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank the entire committee, the mayor, everyone for putting this together and taking the time to make sure this park represents all the veterans that have served this great nation of ours in all the many wars that this nation has fought. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, General Keefe. Thank you for those words. And I'd like to ask Lexi to come back up and sing to us the Veterans Hallelujah.
You packed your bags and shut the door. You crossed the sea to fight a war. You didn't know just what would happen to you. Stepped in the dirt, boots on the ground, and gunfire was the only sound. And to yourself you whispered, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Every day and every night, you walk the walk, you fight the fight. You never saw the end in sight, now did ya? The days of washing a haze of red, the blood, the mud, too many dead. Your weary soul was crying, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Too late to help, but you heard a shot. You knew you're in a deadly spot. You never thought this day would come, now did ya? Your brother falls down to the ground. The enemy is all around. And from your soul you scream the Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. You fought the fight till it was done. You had the strength to carry on. You thought it'd be much better back home, did ya? You try each day, keep pushing through, but the battle lives inside of you. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Thank you for that beautiful song, Lexi. Let's give her another big round of applause. That was beautiful. And so with that, I would like to ask representatives, there's one representative from each family, Mackenzie, Beaudoin, and Muller, to come up and help unveil the monument. Just step behind. Thank you. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Rick Wallace from the Holyoke Caledonian Pipe Band to play us a tune.
Turn on in time. We'll go stand over after you.
So before we have our closing ceremonies, I just want to say a few more words of thanks. I'd especially like to thank the Soldiers Memorial Commission. It's a group of dedicated volunteers here in the city of Holyoke that maintain all the veterans monuments throughout the city, not just the one here in Veteran Park, but throughout the city, including the Soldiers Memorial over on Appleton Street. So can you please give them a round of applause? I'd like to thank all the members of our Veterans Service Office who work tirelessly day in and day out to help support veterans and families of veterans who have served our country without fear for so long, and to help provide them the support that they need in their times of need. So can we please give the Veterans Service Office a round of applause. I'd especially like to thank all of those families here today who know what the sacrifice is, be it their own family member, a brother and sister in arms, those people that gave the ultimate sacrifice, what Abraham Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion to this country, who've laid down their lives so that we can live a life of freedom, including my own brother-in-law, who 10 years ago died in Helmand province in Afghanistan this month. So I really want to thank Terry Shepard. She didn't know this, but it was a real honor for me to be Master of Ceremonies today. So thank you, Terry, for that. This really had a profound impact on me, seeing and listening to the stories of the three families. So thank you, all of you, and thank you to everybody who's put on that uniform and served. And with that, we'll have our closing ceremonies. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for coming and invite you to please stay for some light refreshments that we have laid out. Thank you.